writing a good program doesn't have to be crazy complicated. As long as you're willing to make concessions and accept that, generally speaking, there's no perfect path, there's no perfect exercises. We're just trying to do the best we can to meet an individual's needs. This is about helping an individual make progress to their goals. It's not about finding some ideal, right? And that's where I think a lot of people get lost in the sauce. We're looking at, some really high level bodybuilders training, and then we're trying to put it to somebody who's 47 years old just getting back into training. It's like this is an evolution. Let's just get going with a good enough program and evolve over time, right? So writing a good program, there's nuance in this, and I am not going to cover everything, right? But it really comes down to figuring out the goals of the person in front of you. That is the most paramount thing that we can do when it comes to writing a program, right? If the person is a volleyball player and their goal is to keep playing volleyball, then we want to cater their training to help them play volleyball, right? That doesn't mean that it's going to look significantly different than somebody who's a golfer or somebody that's a football player. Like, maybe what we do to some extent is going to be different based on the sport they want to play or the life they want to live. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be drastically different all the time. If they have injuries and they have considerations and limitations that we need to take into effect, then we want to do that, right? But it really comes back to who's the individual in front of us and what do they want to be able to do, right? And then we basically do a needs analysis, right? We want to help people be athletic and capable and strong, right? But if somebody they're just a power lifter, we're just going to check the boxes of things like cardiovascular endurance and like mobility and like speed and power enough so that they get exposure to those things while still keeping the main thing for them, which is squatting, benching, and deadlifting in various capacities and building muscle, right? I do think athletic development for anybody is really good. And for a powerlifter, like the off season might be spent doing some of these things that they wouldn't conventionally do. But again, it goes back to the preferences and the goals of the person in front of you, right? But we're going to perform a needs analysis, which is like, what are you lacking? Are you somebody who's not really very powerful? Okay, we're going to try to develop your strength and your power in a way that makes you a better athlete. Are you not very mobile? If you can't move in and out of positions well, maybe incorporating a little bit more of like specific mobility work can be advantageous. Some of that can be kind of lifting oriented or accessory work oriented, but having a little bit of dedicated mobility can be useful to people. It also just helps people feel good, which is also a good way to like leave a training session, is feeling good, right? But you basically have a few physical qualities that we just need to assess where people are at and then build on, right? Those are strength, power, speed, endurance, muscle, like hypertrophy, and like their ability to move, their mobility, range of motion, right? Anybody can be looked at from that lens, and then, we can start to move in the direction of the person's goals. Yes, if you have an 80-year-old lady, we're not going to do like box jumps with her if she's not exposed to that type of thing. But we can, even just in her lifting, get her to move relatively heavy stuff to develop strength. We can get her to do medium to light loads faster, right? We can get her doing like stuff that we would consider power training or even speed training by just like intentionally trying to make her or help her move faster, right? We can work on mobility and getting her into shapes and positions that ultimately help her do the stuff that she needs for her life, right? And we can have her do tasks that will improve her cardiovascular endurance. These qualities can be developed the same way in similar fashion to somebody who's 36 years old like myself and who just wants to be athletic and play sports and do powerlifting meets and have fun for as long as I can. Or for an 18-year-old kid who wants to get better at football. We can take these physical qualities and be like, all right, what do we need to do to get better at these things to make this person a more capable and robust human being? And we can chase those things. So check those boxes. There's so many ways to develop power, develop speed, develop strength, make muscles bigger, aka hypertrophy, improve mobility. There's things that are more effective than others, and a lot of that again is preference and exposure and what you have access to. You know, a squatting pattern is a squatting pattern. A deadlifting pattern is a deadlifting pattern. An overhead pressing pattern is an overhead pressing pattern. Is there different utilities to those different patterns? Yes, right. But we don't need to make it super complicated. If you're ticking the boxes and you've found a good frequency, like 3 to 5 times a week, and you are hitting all these things and the person is able to recover from what you're doing and they're enjoying the experience, then we're on the right track. And then regularly retest. A lot of times, all that a retest really needs to be is seeing if performance is increasing over time. Every 4 to 6 weeks, if you want to do a little bit more dedicated testing of speed and power, strength, all these things, you can. But a lot of times, if you're running a good program and you're making progress, then keep it going, right? You can assess by just, hey, are things moving up over the course of weeks and maybe months, right? And then, you know, when it feels like things are slowing down and it's not working as well, that's when you do another needs analysis, make some tweaks, and do it again. So hope this was insightful. That's all I got for you today. Keep it simple. Appreciate you. Peace.